Before we start, tell me where you're listening from in the comments. Maybe you're a parent wondering what kind of legacy you're leaving for your children. Maybe you're thinking about your own parents and what you remember most about them. Maybe you're realizing that the things we think are important might not be the things our children will carry with them when we're no longer here to guide them. This conversation is for you. At 54, I think about death more than I used to. Not in a morbid way, but in a clarifying way. When you understand that your time is finite, it changes how you think about what matters. And nothing clarifies your priorities faster than asking yourself, what do I want my children to remember about me when I'm gone? I have 13 children, 13 incredible human beings who came into this world carrying pieces of my DNA, but who are becoming entirely their own people. And as I watch them grow, as I see them developing their own personalities and pursuing their own dreams, I find myself thinking less about what I want to teach them and more about what I hope they'll remember. Because here's what I've learned about memory and legacy. Children don't remember the lectures you gave them. They remember how you made them feel. They don't remember the advice you offered. They remember the example you set. They don't remember what you said about your values. They remember what you did when your values were tested. Today I want to share with you what I hope my children remember about me. Not the public accomplishments or the business successes, but the human moments that shaped our relationship. The quiet lessons that happen, not in grand speeches, but in daily choices. The legacy that lives, not in what you build with your hands, but in what you build in the hearts of the people you love most. I hope they remember that I was present, even when I was busy. That sounds contradictory, I know. My schedule is demanding, my responsibilities are enormous, and there are days when the weight of trying to solve humanity's biggest challenges makes me feel like I'm failing at the smaller, more personal challenge of being a good father. But I've learned that presence isn't just about quantity of time, it's about quality of attention. When I'm with my children, I try to be fully with them. Phone down, distractions aside, completely focused on whatever they want to share with me. Whether it's a story about school, a problem they're trying to solve, or just a silly joke they heard, I want them to know that in that moment, nothing else in the world matters more to me than what they're saying. I hope they remember that when they spoke, I listened. Not with a part of my brain that was already formulating advice or corrections, but with a part that was genuinely curious about their thoughts, their feelings, their perspective on the world. I hope they remember feeling heard, feeling valued, feeling like their voice mattered in our family. I hope they remember that I wasn't perfect and that I was okay with that I made mistakes, apologized when I was wrong, and tried to do better next time. I don't want them to remember a father who had all the answers, because that would be a lie, and it would set an impossible standard for their own lives. I want them to remember a father who was learning, growing, figuring things out as he went along, who admitted when he didn't know something, who asked for help when he needed it, who showed them that being human means being imperfect, and that being imperfect doesn't mean being unworthy of love. I hope they remember that I encouraged their dreams, even when they seemed impossible, especially when they seemed impossible. I want them to remember that when they came to me with wild ideas, crazy ambitions, plans that made no sense to anyone else, I didn't tell them to be realistic. I asked them how they were going to make it happen, because I know what it feels like to have dreams that other people think are impossible. I know how important it is to have someone in your corner, someone who believes in your vision, even when you're not sure you believe in it yourself. I want to be that person for my children, the way my mother was that person for me. I hope they remember that I taught them to think for themselves, that I didn't expect them to agree with everything I believed, pursue the same goals I pursued, or make the same choices I made. I want them to remember that I respected their autonomy, encouraged their independence, and supported their right to become whoever they were meant to be, even if that person was completely different from who I expected them to be. I hope they remember that I was curious about their interests, even when I didn't understand them, that I asked questions not to judge, but to learn, that I showed up to their events, participated in their hobbies, and made an effort to understand the things that matter to them, even when those things didn't naturally interest me. I want them to know that their passions are valid, their interests are worthy of respect, and their unique perspectives are valuable contributions to our family and to the world. I hope they remember that I was honest with them about the world, but I didn't let that honesty turn into cynicism. That I told them the truth about challenges, difficulties, and injustices, but I also taught them that problems exist to be solved, that the world can be improved, and that they have the power to be part of that improvement. I don't want them to remember a father who protected them from reality by lying to them about how difficult life can be. But I also don't want them to remember a father who crushed their optimism by focusing only on what's wrong with the world. I want them to remember someone who taught them to see problems as opportunities, obstacles as challenges to overcome, and setbacks as information about what to try next. I hope they remember that I showed them how to work hard without losing joy. That I demonstrated that pursuing ambitious goals doesn't have to mean sacrificing happiness. That building something meaningful doesn't require becoming someone you don't recognize. Yes, I work long hours. Yes, I take on enormous challenges. Yes, I push myself and the people around me to achieve things that seem impossible. But I hope my children remember that I did this with enthusiasm, with purpose, with a sense of play and discovery. I hope they remember that hard work, when it's aligned with your values and directed towards something you care about, doesn't feel like suffering, it feels like living. I hope they remember that I taught them about resilience not through lectures but through example, that they saw me face failures, setbacks, and criticism, and they watched how I responded, not with bitterness or self-pity, but with curiosity about what went wrong and determination to try again with better information. I want them to know that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of success. That every mistake is data, every setback is feedback, every closed door is redirection toward a better path. I hope they remember a father who showed them that you can be knocked down without being knocked out, that you can be disappointed without being defeated. I hope they remember that I loved their mother, even when our relationship didn't work out. That they never heard me speak badly about her, never saw me use them as weapons in our conflicts, never felt like they had to choose sides in our disagreements. I want them to understand that sometimes two good people can't make a good relationship, that love doesn't always conquer all, but that doesn't make the love less real or valuable. I hope they saw me treat their mother with respect and kindness, not because it was easy, but because it was right. I hope they remember that I was affectionate without being clingy, supportive without being controlling. That I hugged them when they needed comfort, celebrated their victories without making them about me, and let them know through words and actions that they were loved unconditionally. I want them to remember feeling safe with me, safe to make mistakes, safe to share their fears, safe to be themselves without fear of judgment or rejection. I want them to remember that my love for them wasn't conditional on their performance, their achievements, or their ability to meet my expectations. I hope they remember that I taught them about money and success without letting those things define our relationship. That they understood the opportunities wealth creates, but also the responsibilities it carries. That they learned to see financial resources as tools for creating value, not just for accumulating possessions. I don't want them to remember a father who was more interested in building companies than building relationships with them. But I also don't want them to remember someone who taught them that money doesn't matter, because that would be dishonest. Money matters because of what it enables you to do for others, the problems it allows you to solve, the freedom it provides to pursue what matters most. I hope they remember that I had faith, not just in technology or human ingenuity, but in something larger than what we can see and measure. That they saw me pray, saw me seek guidance from sources beyond my own understanding, saw me acknowledge that there are mysteries in the universe that engineering and science can't solve. I want them to know that intelligence and wisdom are different things, that knowledge and understanding serve different purposes, and that some of life's most important questions can't be answered with data or logic alone. I hope they remember that I was fascinated by the future, but grounded in the present, that I could talk with them about Mars colonization and artificial intelligence, but I was also fully present for bedtime stories, homework help, and conversations about their day at school. I want them to understand that you can be ambitious about changing the world without forgetting to be present for the small moments that make up a life. That building the future doesn't require sacrificing the present, especially when the present includes time with the people you love most. I hope they remember that I encourage them to be kind but not naive, generous but not foolish, trusting but not gullible, that I taught them to see the best in people while protecting themselves from those who might take advantage of their goodness. I want them to understand that strength and gentleness aren't opposites, that you can be tough enough to handle life's challenges while remaining tender enough to connect with others, that courage and compassion go hand in hand. I hope they remember that I took their questions seriously, even when they seemed silly or obvious, that I never made them feel stupid for not knowing something, never dismissed their curiosity as unimportant, never acted like their concerns weren't worth my time. I want them to remember that their thoughts and feelings mattered to me, that their perspective was valuable, that their voice was important in our family. I hope they carry that sense of worth into their adult relationships, that they expect to be heard and respected by the people who claim to love them. I hope they remember that I taught them to be citizens of the world, not just of their country or community, that I helped them understand that we're all part of one human family, that the problems facing people on the other side of the planet are our problems too, that the future of humanity depends on our ability to work together across all the boundaries that divide us. I want them to think bigger than their own immediate needs and desires, to care about things that won't benefit them directly, to contribute to solutions for problems they didn't create. Most of all, I hope they remember that I love them fiercely, completely, and without reservation. That no matter what they accomplished or failed to accomplish, no matter what choices they made or paths they chose, no matter how far they traveled or how different they became from what I expected, my love for them remained constant. I hope they remember that they never had to earn my love, never had to perform for my approval, never had to become someone other than themselves to deserve my attention and affection. I know that memory is selective, that children remember some things and forget others in ways that don't always make sense to adults. I know that they might remember moments I've forgotten and forget moments that seemed crucial to me. I know that their memories of me will be shaped by their own experiences, their own needs, their own interpretations of what they witnessed. But if I could choose what they remember, it would be this: that they had a father who loved them enough to be present, honest enough to be real, strong enough to be vulnerable, and wise enough to let them become themselves. I hope they remember that I believed in them, not just in their potential, but in who they already were, that I saw their unique gifts, celebrated their individual strengths, and helped them understand that the world needs exactly who they are, not some improved or different version of themselves. And I hope they remember that even though I won't be with them forever, the love I have for them is permanent, eternal, unshakable, that it lives on in the way they treat themselves, the way they treat others, and the way they move through the world with confidence, kindness, and purpose. Because that's what legacy really is. Not the monuments we build or the companies we create, but the love we plant in the hearts of our children that continues to grow long after we're gone. That's what I hope they remember. That's what I hope you remember about the people who loved you. And that's what I hope you're planting in the hearts of the people you love most. Share this with someone who's trying to be a good parent. Subscribe if these conversations help you think differently about family and legacy. And remember, your children are watching not just what you do, but how you do it. They're learning not just from your words, but from your presence. What do you hope the people you love most will remember about you?